This is the story of why the sky is so far away. A long time ago, in the land of Sesimirimbe, the people there were so happy. They were happy every single day of their lives. Do you know why? Because that sky was right above their heads. I mean, the sky was so close to everybody's head, everybody could reach up and everybody could touch the sky. But not only was the sky right on top of their heads, the sky was also food, chakula. Can you say chakula? Yes, chakula. And it was so delicious. So that meant that if the children were hungry, instead of having to run home to their parents to eat their lunch or to eat their dinner, all the children had to do was reach up their little fingers, grab a piece of that sky, pop it into their mouths, and they were happy. Or the women. Maybe the women were in the village marketplace. Maybe they were stringing their bead necklaces or painting on their calabashes. If the women were hungry, all they had to do was reach up their long, lovely hands, grab a piece of that sky, pop it into their mouths, and they were happy. Or the men. Maybe the men were in the back of the village. Maybe they were carving out their drums or repairing their huts. If the men were hungry, all they had to do was reach up their long, strong arms, grab a piece of that sky, pop it into their mouths, and they were happy. But now you know just like I know, people can be wasteful. Many times the children would be playing and talking and singing, thinking they were still hungry. They'd grab some sky, they'd take one bite, they'd throw the rest of it on the ground. Or the women might be in the village marketplace just talking, like they usually do. And thinking they were still hungry, they'd grab some sky, take one bite, and they'd throw the rest of it on the ground. Or the men would be in the back of the village just drumming and dancing. Thinking they were still hungry, they'd grab some sky, take one bite, and they'd throw the rest of it on the ground. So before you knew it, the land of Sesimirimbe was covered. It was covered with little tiny pieces of sky, wasted all over the ground. Well, this made the great sky god very angry. So one day, he came out. He took away the sun, and it was dark. And then he said, "People of Sesimirimbe, I warn you, if I should see so much as one little piece of sky on this ground again, your lives will be changed forever." Well, now the people knew exactly what they had to do. They began to pick up all the little pieces of sky that they had wasted on the ground. When they finished eating those, whenever they were hungry, they would take a little piece of sky and eat it. If they were still hungry, they could take another little piece of sky and eat it, but never ever more than they needed. They learned not to be wasteful. So this became a habit. It lasted for days, it lasted for weeks and months, it lasted for years, until the 27th year. In the 27th year, there was a great, big celebration. The daughter of King Obatala and Mama Nakagwa was getting married. So they invited all the people to come. They said, "Come, people, come, bring your children, bring your drums, bring your calabashes, and let's party!" Woo! And so they partied. They partied, not for one day, not for two, not for 3, 4, or 5, but for 6 days they partied. Well, you know just like I know, that in every group of people, there's always one person who is greedy. And guess who the greedy person was in the land of Sesimirimbe? It was the queen, Mama Nakagwa. That queen was so greedy, she had to have the most fabric in her gele, the most fabric in her lapa, the most bells on her ankles, the most drums, the most calabashes. Plus, Mama Nakagwa talked the most. And Mama Nakagwa ate the most. So here we were in the 6th day of the party. Mama Nakagwa was over with her friends, just talking, like she usually does. And thinking she was still hungry, she reached up. She grabbed a piece of sky. She went to put the sky in her mouth. And then she said, "Oh no, I cannot eat this piece of sky. My belly, it is too full." But she remembered she was not supposed to waste it. So she went over to the children and she said, "My dear little children, I have taken this piece of sky and I cannot eat it. Will you children please eat the sky for me?" And the children said, "Oh no, Mama Nikagwa, our bellies, they are full. We could not possibly eat another bite." So then she went to the women and she said, "Please, please, my dear sisters, I have taken this piece of sky and I cannot eat it. Will you please eat the sky for me?" And the women said, "Oh, Mama Nikagwa, we have been eating every hour on the hour. We could not possibly eat another bite." So then she went to the men and she said, "Please, please, my dear brothers, I have taken this piece of sky and I cannot eat it. Will you please eat the sky for me?" And the men said, "Oh, Mama Nikagwa, we are so full. If we were to take another bite, our bellies would burst open. There would be little pieces of sky all over the ground again." So here she was, stuck with this one little piece of sky. What was she going to do with it? She tried to eat it, but her belly was too full. She even tried to throw it back up, but it wouldn't stick. So she thought, "This is such a tiny little piece of sky. I don't think anyone would miss it. I don't think anyone would notice where I hide it." So while the rest of the village was still singing and dancing and partying, Mama Nikagwa went to the back of the village. She found a little teeny tiny bush, and she hid the piece of sky on the ground behind the bush. Well, as soon as that piece of sky touched the ground, the great sky god came back out. He took away the sun again, and it was dark. And then he said, "People of Sesimarimbe, I have warned you that if I saw so much as one little piece of sky on this ground again, your lives would be changed forever." Well, now the people were scared. They stood where they were. They looked up at the sky, they watched, and they waited for something terrible to happen. They stood a long time just looking and watching, but nothing happened. So King Obatala and Mama Nikagwa said, "People of Sesame Bay, come, get your children, get your drums, get your calabashes, and go home. This party is over." So they took their children by their hands and they walked home. And as they walked home, they kept looking at the sky. When they got home, they stood outside for a long time, just looking at the sky, watching and waiting for something terrible to happen to them. But nothing happened. So they went inside and they went to bed. But when they woke up in the morning, oh boy, as soon as they opened their eyes, woo! They saw that the sun was shining so bright. That sun was so bright and so hot, it was almost burning their eyeballs. Why was the sun so bright this morning? They rubbed their eyes, they got up and went outside. Oh no! They could not believe their eyes. The sky was so far away. They stood up on their tiptoes. They tried to touch the sky. Nobody could touch it anymore. The children climbed up on top of the huts. The children couldn't touch it. The women climbed up in the tallest trees they could find. The women couldn't touch it. The men stood on top of each other's shoulders. They reached up. The men couldn't touch it. Let me tell you, that sky was so far away that if you took 100 giraffes, with their long necks, and you stood them one on top, the other top, the other top, the other top, the other top, the other, they wouldn't be anywhere near that sky. So then the people said, "Well, what are we going to eat now?" What are we going to use for food? Our chakula is gone. We cannot reach it. We are going to be hungry. We may even starve to death. And do you know? That was the day. That was the day that the people had to learn how to farm. They had to learn how to work for their food now. They had to dig holes in the ground. They had to collect seeds. They had to plant the seeds. They had to shoo the birds away. Shoo, shoo, so the birds wouldn't eat the seeds. They had to pray for the rain to come. Then they had to wait for the rain to come. Then they had to wait for the food to grow. And while they were waiting for the food to grow, they had to learn how to forage. Do you know how to forage? How to find fruit? How to collect nuts? How to pick seeds? Oh, so much work. So many problems. So much trouble. All because one person was greedy. So I'm telling you all, it's too late now to do anything about the sky. It's gone for good. I can't touch it. You can't touch it. But if you've got something good that you like to eat, or something special that you like to keep for yourself, you make sure that you share it. Share it with the people that you know, and share it with the people that you don't know. But especially, you make sure never, ever take more than you need. Not to be wasteful, not to be greedy. And just in case one day any one of you gets that urge, you know that urge to take one more little piece of something that you know you don't need, stop and think. Think about why the sky is so far away. Peace and love.